Hej og velkommen tilbage til resten af det, der var i går. Der var der jo afhøringer af en ven til ham, vores tiltalte Adam Montgomery. Det var en, der påstod, han havde set de våben, han er anklaget for at have stjålet. Og ja, lad os bare sige, det var måske ikke verdens bedste vidne. Han var meget påvirket af situationen. Han var tidligere stofmisbruger, og det kunne man godt mærke på ham. Men jeg holdt en lille friaften i går, så nu tager vi lige og hopper ind igen og ser, hvordan resten af dagen forløb i går. Hello all and welcome back to this trial about the Adam Montgomery firearms charges. Yesterday we had a witness on the stand when I choose to have a night off. The witness will come back. It's his former drug buddy. He claims that he has seen the guns in the possession of Adam Montgomery. He wasn't the best witness, I feel, because he was a former drug addict, and he was very influenced by the situation. He seemed a bit frightened. He couldn't remember much, let's just be honest, probably because he was a former drug addict. When we left off at lunchtime yesterday, I thought they would be finished with him, but there's some more questions from especially the defense. But let's pick up and get this done so we can get back out and enjoy the sunny weather. But and hi Indigo and hi Mo, thank you for showing up this early. Early your time, noon my time. But let's jump into it and see if the witnesses get better, or it's all these drug fiends who can't remember anything and give any clear answers. So here we go.
Clean up a few things that I just didn't have at my fingertips before. Number one, the charge that was null prossed in August of 2022, after you told the prosecutor, hey, I gave the police information. Do you remember that?
The last time I went to court, yeah.
Okay. And you didn't remember if it was a felony or a misdemeanor?
Right.
If I showed you a copy of the...
Again, what does it matter, Elaine, if it was a felony or a misdemeanor? You are implying that the man made a deal, and
If
that's
you
why
say
he's
it's a felony, I
testifying.
believe you. But I'll read it too.
I'm going to show you
I'm sure.
a document.
I'm
And
normally
this
not for
page
cuddling men,
talks
but
about a
I feel like
controlled
this man
drug
needs a hug.
possession subsequent charge null prossed, right?
Okay.
And that's August 9, 2022.
Okay.
And then let's look at the charge. And that was a possession of a controlled drug subsequent, right?
All right.
Does that sound right to you now?
Mhm.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Subsequent?
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, this will answer your question. So do you recall that you were charged with a possession while you had a conviction of a misdemeanor possession on your record?
Oh, yes. I had a couple arrests before then, too, that I didn't go to.
Okay. And that charge was from September of 2019, right?
Yep.
Okay. Here. Now, we talked about the deposition that I took of you, and one of the things that you said back then, because you said on direct that you knew Adam for about 16 months, was it?
I mean, somewhere in there, it was long. It was like, you know, I know it was between two Christmases, because then there was that he called me around Christmas asking if he could live at my house. So.
Well, when I was doing the deposition, we were talking about the conversation that you had with Ish. And you told me about the conversation with Adam, that there was supposedly an RA, you believed there was an AR, like an AK, and Kimmy says, and then you say, this is like before I met Adam, that Kimmy said that he had stolen from him, right?
No,
Is that what you said at the deposition?
no.
I'm going to ask another question, and then I'll come to you with the deposition, okay?
Okay.
And you said, to be honest, you felt like probably traded, but you really didn't know the circumstances. But later on, after you had met Adam, Kimmy said to him, I have a camera.
You're
Yes.
Do any of you in the chat understand where Elaine is going? I know she's trying to cast doubt about his memories and his deposition, but didn't she do that for 90 minutes yesterday? And it doesn't appear to me that he gets more or less trustworthy with his deposition. He got meth brain. He can't remember details. He believes he knew Adam for 16 months, and then he said it's between Christmases. I don't know how you do the calendar in the US, but we only have 12 months between Christmases in Denmark. What do it matter? I really can't understand why she wants to beat this guy up. If I was on the jury, I would feel sorry for him. Like I said, I like to give this guy a hug and say, "Oh, it's gonna be fine." She's going to drive him right back to his dealer and buy some more drugs because he looks so uncomfortable. I feel sorry for this guy. I really think that you could do this in 30 minutes and have a clear vision of he's not that believable. Maybe he made something up to give to the police to get out of prison. You can have done that in 30 minutes, but this took more than 2 hours yesterday. I really can't understand why American lawyers have to talk so much, especially a guy who doesn't even understand what a felony for possession is. It's not the sharpest knob on the door. I don't know. Elaine drives me crazy. I can't even English anymore. The best part of doing this on a delay is I can fast forward through all that arguing at the bench.
Sustained.
So I'm going to approach you with a copy of your deposition. And you've seen it, the prosecutor gave it to you, but you haven't read it. Right?
Yes.
And he gave it to you after he had prepared you for the testimony today, right?
Yes. After I viewed the DVD.
Okay. And this is deposition of Michael Sullivan, March 31, 2023. And I am going to direct your attention to page 33. And if you would read along that, I'm going to ask you a question to yourself, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
It seems like a public school librarian with those glasses and that haircut. And she's just as annoying as a librarian.
Okay.
Okay, in that deposition, you said you were about to talk about what Kim was saying about somebody stealing the things, and you said, this is like before I had met Adam.
This is mischaracterization.
Yeah. No, it's all right. I got it.
Overruled. Go ahead.
So
Wait. So, you're talking before that about conversations that you had with Ish, right?
mm-hmm.
And then you are asked about other guns, right?
Okay.
And you said like there was like an AR. I believe it was an AR or a AK. And Kimmy says this is like
Sustained.
I'm not getting into what she says. It's just, this is the prelude to.
Council approach.
Oh my God. I'm happy I jumped off yesterday, or else I've been falling asleep in front of the camera. And me snoring and drooling wouldn't be a pretty sight. Come on, YouTube.
So I think you said indirect, but you knew Adam for a couple of weeks or so before the allegation.
Come on, Elaine, go back to the mic.
I met Adam. I met Adam the night he came over with Manny. I believe that I had already talked to Kimmy prior to that.
Okay. Okay, so you talked to Kimmy prior to.
About the
Manny's-
car and all that what happened that weekend, and then all the shit that went down. Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
All the stuff that went down.
Isn't it true that you said at deposition when you said, talk about other guns, and you believe it was an AR, and this was like before I met Adam?
Because when we were talking about the night that me and Kimmy talked, I hadn't met Adam. Adam had gone over there, right? So when I did the car thing for her and for Manny and Ish, that's when they started coming over. Manny came over, and everybody was the same group. So I met Adam through Manny
Okay. And this was after the conversation about.
with
the
Kimmy.
AR. Okay. And so, you also said that later on, after you had met Adam, then you talked about stuff like the camera conversation, right?
Everyone talked about it because he said it to everybody.
Okay. So, number two.
Again, I really don't understand where she's going.
You said that Adam had walked up, like taken the gun out of the trunk and walked up
Mm-hmm.
your porch.
He
and you-
reversed in,
Pardon?
reversed in my driveway, opened the trunk, grabbed it, started walking up. We were standing on my porch. I don't know who was there. There was probably 15 people at my house like usual. And I said, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
Okay, so,
And like we all laughed about it, and he put it in the back of his vehicle.
okay, and you said it was the AR-15.
I said it looked like an assault rifle. I can't tell you if it was, I don't know if they're, the name of the guns.
Sorry about that, I agree, you did say that. But
Can
you said-
anyone explain what an assault rifle is? Because I hear it all the time in American news, but
33,
I've been in
I
the
said it had a
military
black
for
stock
almost 10
and
years,
black
and we
barrel.
didn't have any
so
assault
you
rifle
don't know
weapon.
if it looked like
We just had
it was
weapons.
33.
It had a black barrel and a black stock.
Okay, because you didn't see what was in the middle, right?
Correct. There was a sheet over it.
Huh?
Yeah, there was the sheet.
Okay. And
Oh
when
my
you
God.
spoke to the police in 2022, you talked about that same sort of thing happening in your driveway in the parking lot, and supposedly Adam selling a gun near your house,
Supposedly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, you said it was a shotgun.
No. No.
And now she's got him annoyed, and he won't answer. She just she ruins her own case. I can't understand why she wants to talk this much. Again, 30 minutes, and you could have been done with this guy. Did you see the gun? I saw something that looked like a gun.
Called making a description of him coming over with a gun wrapped into a sheet, and the interviewer said, so it was just the shotgun that day, right?
And what did I say after it?
That's what I'm saying. He brought it. He was the one selling. It was a big thing. I believe it was the second one that was in there, right?
I feel like all I know is the 25 minutes we keep going over. It's the same. There was an AR that or a assault rifle that he had. Walked up. There was a sheet over it. We went to the parking lot after the dude showed up. I mean, like, it's the same events. I can, and just like the shotgun, like, I wouldn't feel right sitting here saying that like, I know for sure about the shotgun because I believe he came over to the house. That's why I didn't want to bring it up. Like, I can't say, positive, but I do know that 100% positive that the
Absolutely
driveway
positive.
and the gun that supposedly got sold.
So the interviewer asked you, so we know like the shotgun was traded to this guy who's a drug dealer. How about the rifle? And you said, I don't know what happened to the rifle. Is that right?
I don't know, I guess. If that's what you're saying, I said in a deposition or a time I talked to someone.
Do you want to look at your interview with the police officers to refresh your recollection?
Sure.
And he said it. 25 minutes we're just running around in circles. There's nothing new in this. He has his story and he keeps repeating his story. I know she wants to chip away, make it unbelievable. She have done that for an hour, and now she's just keep reiterating the same thing. Was it the shotgun? Was it the AI? I know
Show you a copy
so a
of,
reasonable doubt in the jury,
interview
but
that
again,
you had identified before
you can do this in
as
30 minutes. This is just a
3/31/22.
waste of
Okay,
time.
that was
And
us?
now this
Yeah.
witness seems
Remember 3/31/22
okay,
is
okay.
when
like
the police had
it's
secured?
bad for him, and that
Okay.
she's beating
And,
him up, and I
if you
think
wanna
she's
read through that, then I
counterproductive
can ask
in
you
her
a
way
question
to
again, okay?
talk to witnesses and keep reiterating the same questions over and over and over. But
Read it wherever you want.
I bet she thinks that she's getting into the minds of the juror. But they've been looking for this guy for 2 hours, and if they didn't make their mind up before, it won't change their perception of him by going over and over and over with it. He has explained why he can't remember what he said in interviews. He was drug sick. He
Okay.
he
Okay.
he was fair saying, I wouldn't say
Can
the
you
show the
shotgun was
video
at
for
the
that?
house.
Do we have the video?
Are you thinking that this transcription,
No, like, is this the video that I just watched in there?
No.
That's not the same interview?
No.
Okay.
this is from the police on 3/31/22?
Right, the last time when I got brought in on the fugitive justice, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and you told him that you didn't know about what happened with the rifle,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Always a cover in trial.
And you talked about looking at a video recently. In that video, you were talking about the missing Fran guns, right?
I guess I looked pretty bad in that video. Like, I don't think that I looked I was pretty sick in that video.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. You were doing drugs. And they asked you, when they were talking about the guns, had you seen the guns? And you said, I held them, right?
I told you I thought I held the shotgun, but when I came in here, I wasn't sure of it, so I wasn't gonna say it. But when I look at that, it makes me feel like I was right.
Okay. So fair to say that, we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
It's just like Elaine. She ends up saying, well, we'll leave it. And he gets to tell his story that he wouldn't say it in court. So he seems more believable, more sympathetic. I can't understand this woman, but any woman. Can't understand any woman, but especially Elaine.
So, Mr. Sullivan, you've said this, and it may have gotten a little confused on cross.
Mm-hmm.
The deal you're talking about with Kim and Ish, that's regarding the pistols, correct?
Yes.
Sustained.
The deal you were talking about with Kim and Ish, was that regarding the pistols?
Yes.
So there's pistols and there's long guns. Is there a
Yes.
difference between the two?
Yeah. Size. Sorry.
I like this guy.
So you were asked a lot about your 2020 interview with law enforcement, and it sounded like you were saying you looked sick. Is that something that you?
I was in bad, like, bad way.
You just watched that video,
Yeah.
and you're saying you're in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember being there for that video? The interview that was taken.
Yeah, like I honestly, I don't, like I don't remember much. I went to jail and like hallucinated, it was a pretty bad time. So I don't remember much. Like I said, I can tell you the things that don't change that I know happened, and that's what I can tell you.
Let's talk about the things that don't change that you know happened. Did you see the defendant sell an assault rifle?
Right in front of me. I was sitting in the back seat. I wanted him to do it too. I wanted him to do it too because I wanted to get drugs.
Did you see the defendant offer you the assault rifle for sale?
When he came up, that's what he was there for. And then he found out I didn't have any. And he was like, I'll help you,
Did you tell your truth back in 2020 when you were interviewed?
I've never read that interview. I didn't read the interview me and you did. I just know what I know. And I'm sure that it should say it there,
So in your 2020 interview, you were asked who got robbed. And let's back up. You were meeting about something totally unrelated, but it was a big.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this, like when we're talking about me, not, being able to have them drop my charges, it's not because of this, it's because
So let me stop you there. The video that you just watched of making these statements about this robbery, that was only about 4 or 5 minutes
yes,
of a 2-hour, hour and a half, 2-hour interview
felt like 5 hours.
about something unrelated.
Yes,
Okay. And in that interview, you were asked who was robbed. You describe a couple, Kim and Chris.
yes,
You were asked who robbed them. And you said, I think,
Sustained.
Your Honor, it's impeachment.
Overruled.
You were asked,
No, I'm sorry. The objection is sustained.
do you remember who you said robbed them?
who robbed the Frames?
Kim and Chris.
Ish, Adam, and Manny.
In your interview, though, you said, I think Ish and Manny.
Overruled.
Sorry. In your interview, you said, I think Ish and Manny and Adam.
They gave,
Adam had the guns.
yeah, but they gave for the car and for the for the handguns and all that. They were giving her, like, they were feeding her drugs. Like, they would come back as she called for her car. They would come back in 10 hours as she called for 8 of it. They give her a very little amount of drugs so that they could keep stringing her along. So it's not like is that trading, or is that like, I don't think that's fair.
That trade for the drugs, though, is the pistol. Is that
Yes,
what we're talking
and
about?
the car.
Okay. And so in this conversation, you said, I think Ish and Manny and Adam had the guns. Is that what you said
Yes,
on the video you just watched?
yes.
And then you were asked, you said you were asked, did you see anyone with these guns? Do you remember what you said? Did you see anyone with these guns?
I know that I saw him walk up the driveway with it. I know that, you
Right.
know,
But
like,
in that interview, do you remember what your response was?
I'm not
you-
sure.
Do you remember saying, yeah, Adam?
I'm sure.
And when you said, yeah, Adam,
I don't remember that, but I'm sure that's what I said.
and when you said, yeah, Adam, in that 2020 interview, were you referring to Adam Montgomery, the defendant in this case?
Yes.
Ended there.
You were asked about a deposition you gave earlier
Okay.
this year. And so on cross-examination, you were asked about this comment that you'd made in your deposition about a conversation between the defendant and Kim being comical. Why was that conversation comical?
Because everyone knew Adam took the guns, and she was trying to, not just as she was trying to,
Hold on. The objection's overruled. Go ahead.
she was trying to get him to say it. Everyone knew. He
Sustained.
okay. She was saying it so that she could see if she thought she was going to have a Matlock moment, and Adam was all of a sudden going to say that he did it. And then Adam, knowing that by her saying she had it, him not getting in trouble, he meant in the car, hey, I would be in jail right now. I know she's lying because I got it. He knew he had the gun, so that's why he knew he'd be in jail right now.
So that was my next question. Did Adam say in the car the police would be called if she had a video?
No, he literally was like,
Did he say, I would be in jail?
I would be in jail right now. If she had a camera, I would be in jail right now.
This is so much better and so much more to the point. You just wasted 2 hours talking
And
about.
then we went over to his house,
So-
and his wife sat there, and
And we've
or his
talked about
girl.
that. My next question, though, I think you were asked on cross if this was a funny thing that was going on between Adam and Kim. In your words, would you say it was funny?
like at the time, it was like not that we're like being mean to Kimmy, but everyone knew that what had happened, and even by Adam sitting there laughing, like I feel like Kimmy knew for 100% sure too, and it was like she was like, you know, she's hearing it from everybody tell her that he said.
Okay,
And so-
counsel, stop. Approach.
He's getting the points out. He's probably going too far, but again, we wasted 2 hours listening to. Do you remember that date at that time? And the prosecution goes straight back to making him tell the story he knows, that seems like he remembers, that seems pretty trustworthy. He doesn't over embellish and say, well, Adam said this and went there and got this amount for it. He said, I believe it was this gun because he had a blanket over it. I was in the car when he traded it for drugs. She spent a lot of time making him uncredible. And now the prosecution, with a few questions, have him back on track, back participating in the conversation. And this is what the jury is going to remember. A librarian beating up on I can't call him a simpleton. I don't know him, but he seems a bit slow for 2 hours, and then him coming back and be more alive and tell his story as he remembers it. You get to hear that he was drug sick when the police interrogated him. So you just feel for him.
You may proceed.
Thank you. So, Mr. Sullivan, almost done. I just want to put what everyone else knew aside. What did you know when you were listening to that conversation?
I knew that Kimmy didn't have cameras either because everyone.
Sorry, let me ask you this way. When you listened to that conversation, did you know that the defendant had stolen the guns?
Yes,
Okay.
everyone did. Or we all did.
But you knew.
Yes, I knew.
Stop there. Let that be the last thing
And
he
like-
says.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Just stop. Let that be the last thing that jurors take
Thank
away
you,
from
Mr.
this.
Sullivan.
Thank you.
Good job.
Right there. Anything further, Attorney Smith?
And now she's gonna come back, hammer him with the same facts again, and he won't cooperate. And he will again seem like he's a victim because she keeps hammering on the same points because he can't remember details. But does it matter? He has told his story consistent through the 2.5 hours he's been on the stand. Just look at his body language. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to listen to her.
Recent answers, you said that you knew, everybody knew about the guns. And actually, earlier in your testimony, you knew from Ish that he had stolen the 380 and at least another gun. Is that right?
The handguns.
So you're saying 2 handguns are stolen?
Adam had the assault rifle. I don't know if it was
I'm asking about the conversation with Ish.
and her guns had gotten stolen.
So Ish had admitted to you to stealing the
No, he didn't
380
admit
and
that he
another
stole it.
gun.
He said
Sustained.
he didn't admit that she stole it. He said she was
Okay.
accused.
Hold
Okay,
on.
you're right. You're right. Traded
Yeah.
380 and another gun,
Yes.
and that's what you knew.
Yes.
2 guns Ish.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
What did that
Okay,
change?
Sit down. They,
Oh, I'm so sorry, you
be
guys.
excused.
Excusing to the juror.
Yes.
Oh my God, I like this. I like this guy. Oh, I wish I could talk to him. Just look at him. I think he's a fun guy. Just don't do drugs with him. But oh my God, he just wasted half a day talking to an angry old lady who ended up not getting much out of him other than I can't remember anything other than Adam had the guns. He showed me the guns. Everybody in our drug society knew he had stolen the guns. That was what she got out of him for 2 hours. Poor guy. If he wasn't a recovering addict, I would say go out and have a beer on me, but have a soda.
It's earlier than we would normally take a mid-afternoon break, but for other reasons, we do need to take a break at this point. So I'm going to send you back into the deliberation room, and we'll call you back in here when we're ready. All right, thank you. I'm going to address it first, so.
Snack time.
Come on up, Mr. Bernatchez. Do you want to hear about the questions? Okay, so good afternoon, Mr. Bernatchez. What I'm going to have you do is just, in fact, you can just sit right there at the table behind the prosecutors, because I want you to understand what the questions are going to be. Then we have to. Well, so we first have to decide whether or not.
Oh,
you
he's
need a
pleading the
lawyer.
fifth.
And I want you to hear what the questions are. The parties have agreed
So now you're
to tell you
gonna
what the questions
read the
are,
questions. They're gonna
so that
ask
we can
him,
make
and
a
then
reasonable determination as to whether or not we can proceed with you today. And if not, then we'll assign you a lawyer and we'll take the next steps that we would normally take for somebody who is going to invoke the Fifth Amendment. Okay? So just sit down and listen carefully to what the state intends to ask you about. Okay? So, Attorney Gotti, go ahead. Thank you.
9 questions that we intend to ask Mr. Bernatchez are these following after this morning. How old he is, what city does he live in, how long has he lived there, whether he wants to be here right now, does he know someone named Adam Montgomery, at one point in 2021, was he living at the same address with him, did Adam Montgomery tell him that he sold a gun to a person named Ish, did officers ask you if they could show you some photos to identify Ish? And you stated no. And saying to the officer specifically no because you are not a snitch. Those are the 9 questions.
Okay,
So essentially, where the city that Mr. Bermanich lives in now, we're not asking for his home address. Whether or not he wants to be here right now. Does he know someone named Adam Montgomery? Whether he was residing with him at one point in 2021, not where they were residing or how they came to be residing with each other. Whether the defendant, whether Adam Montgomery told him that he had sold a gun to a person named Ish, whether officers asked if they could show some photos to identify this person named Ish, and whether he told those officers no, because he is not a snitch. Those are the 9 questions.
So finally, a
Based upon
criminal
those
who
9, not asking where Mr. Burnett lives now, not asking where he was residing in 2021, we do not feel that the answers to those 9 questions would somehow trigger a Fifth Amendment.
okay, so you've heard those questions. Do you have any objection to answering those questions?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer any questions.
finally a
So,
criminal who understands that it's sometimes a
Let's
good
see what
idea
the
to shut
questions
up.
would be from the defense.
They would be that he hung out at Somerville Street with Mike, his wife, and several other people. He did drugs at Summer Street with Mike and other people that had hung out there. I will be asking him a question that I don't know the answer to, because in his report he had indicated that he was messing around with Kim Frayne, and I'm not sure if he was saying that Mike was or that he was having a relationship with her.
Oh, so the Miss
And,
Berry was
if it was Mike, then
a community wife.
the time period that was going on. That I would be asking if he had gone to Kim's house to get high on crack with her, which I believe he will say yes to, because I believe it was him saying that he was messing around with Kim. I will ask if they were buying and selling drugs together, he and Kim. I will ask if he had heard a rumor about her, Kim Fran's husband, getting guns stolen or robbed. And he said that he'd heard the rumor, but he couldn't confirm that it was Adam. And that I will talk about some of the things that the police were saying to him, and that he eventually said that at first he had never seen Adam with a shotgun, and Adam had never given him guns, and that all he had was a claim that Adam said he was selling guns, and that this occurred while Todd was in jail. And there's a few related to that kind of questioning. Oh,
All right.
and sorry, there was more to follow up on Ish.
Of course,
That he
there was
knew
more.
Ish, he said he knew Ish, his description of Ish, and that is Ish someone that he also hung out with at Mike's house.
All right, council approach.
Well, if she is going to ask him so many questions about dealing drugs and that, I would probably shut up too. But finally, a criminal who understands that you Americans have the Fifth Amendment and you don't have to incriminate yourself. But let's see if he gets out of it. It's I don't understand why she wanted to ask questions about dealing drugs at the house while fooling around with the wife in 2021. That's 2 years after the guns were stolen. But Elaine has surprised me a lot of times with asking questions. I really don't understand why she wants to get out. I know she wants to paint him as a bad guy. The neck tattoo does that in my world, but I'm just a bit judgmental. But again, questions you don't need answers to. can't you just get to the point? The prosecutor had 9 questions, and she could have had something like that too. What does anyone care about him banging the wife if it's 2 years later? Well, probably her husband cares if he banged his wife, but other than that, I can't see what it has to do with this trial. But what do I know? I'm not a lawyer. Can we move on, Elaine?
Today, that's because. So, you're here today, that's because you understand that you're under subpoena and you have an obligation to be here. And that is important. I think you know that a failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued, and so you are here. I understand your concerns. Whether you have a privilege to assert is another question. You can't just assert in order to choose not to say anything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to appoint you a lawyer, okay, so that you'll be able to consult with counsel. I'm going to have you come back on Monday. Why don't we have you come back at 12:30? So I do need to have a current, we're going to need some current contact information for Mr. Bernatchez. Okay. So I'm going to, either the state victim witness advocate or somebody will work with the court to get some contact information for a lawyer. As soon as you get that information, you should make every effort to contact that lawyer so that you can speak to them in advance of Monday's hearing. We'll have you come back Monday at 12:15. I don't know exactly when the testimony will break. It may be ongoing, and you may need to be here for a little while. Once you contact your lawyer may want you to get here earlier so you can consult with the lawyer. But then on a lunch break with the jury, we'll have some further conversation about what has to happen with regard to your testimony. Okay?
We do have Mr. Bernatchez's phone number. We can just confirm what his address is.
315 Cedar Street.
So,
Okay. And Mr. Bernatchez, do you have a lawyer you've been working with for any of your own?
Jay Brisa.
What?
John J. Brisa.
Attorney Brisa. Okay. I don't know if that would be who would be appointed to you, but I can let them know downstairs that that's somebody that you've worked with. You can also call Attorney Brisa if you wish to do so to let him know. And we will, we'll get you counsel, and I'll see you again on Monday. Okay? All right. Very good. All right. So what do we have with regard to the next witness?
Your Honor, I think at this point, it'd probably be wise for us to go ahead and discuss that matter regarding Mr. Zimmerman.
Okay.
Because ideally, he would be the next witness after this, and it just kind of makes sense to go right from Ms. Hilbert as witness directly to Mr. Zimmerman.
Very good. So let me do this. You shared with the court earlier the response to the question regarding the nexus of his statements and the 77 Guilford Street address. I presume that what you were reading from was provided to the defense.
Was, Your Honor, I received it by email last night. Defense counsel received it by email last night. The tribunals received it just prior to the two of us.
Okay, so rather than have you read that again, I don't think that's necessary. Mr. Montgomery wasn't in the room at the time, but you've shared that with him, Attorney Smith?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe it makes sense for me just to hear your response rather than have them go over what's in there.
And rather than go over everything that we said before
Yes.
about the different conversations, I do want to make it abundantly clear that Josh's first statement, first of all, that Josh and Tara had several conversations with Adam Montgomery, but that Josh said he didn't really start communicating with Adam Montgomery until 6 months after Adam Montgomery had moved into Union Avenue. And then the conversation, about a year later, which I said was not clear if it was a year after moving into Union or a year after they started talking, that Adam was getting paranoid and talking about the ATF.
So I'm sorry, was it a year after he moved in or a year after the
She's
6
not
month
clear.
communication?
I cannot
Oh,
tell
you don't know.
from the
Okay.
report that was provided to us that these were.
Okay.
And that that was the circumstance for Adam talking specifically about an AK-47 firearm. Josh said he never saw any firearms and that Adam never tried to sell him firearms. So that was essentially when he said that Adam, and essentially what they're trying to get from Mr. Zimmerman is that Adam bragged about selling firearms. And then it was specifically to the AK-47. So then
37.
was
That must be
when
the new
Terry
model.
Hebert said that Adam had talked
I've only
about,
seen the 47.
an AR-15 being the sickest gun he ever had. Was that conversation that Tara was talking about the same as the conversation with Josh? And it was A, and B, did Josh actually hear that? So in Terry Hebert's interview, she said that,
Is it Hebert or Hilbert?
I'm doing that, I'm sorry.
Hilbert. Okay. Okay.
Come on, Elaine.
Said that on several occasions between February 2020 and.
You missed a guy pleading the fifth,
2020,
the first
Adam
criminal
had
who
bragged about
who understands that you can shut up.
So
But he
first
will
of
be
all,
back
that's a
on
time
Monday
period
to,
before Josh
together with his
started
lawyer, to
talking
see if he
Adam. I think I
has
said
the
that
privilege
Adam
to
moved
plead the fifth.
into, Union in March, and Adam said it
The
was really
prosecutor had 9
about-
questions for him,
Josh
and
said it was really about 6
the defense
months
had,
before he
I
started
don't know,
really
a couple of
talking to
hours
Adam,
she
and
wanted
then
him
a
to
year
answer. And
problem, but even at the
talking
first
about
part, a year
banging
later,
the
is when
meth
Adam
ferry
was
from
talking about
from
guns.
2 days
So
ago,
their
and
time period is different.
doing drugs and selling drugs. So
He did not say
maybe
that
that's
it
incriminating
was
himself.
when he was at 77 Guilford. She said that she believed that to be after seeing a press release. And Josh's specific
Well,
reference
it's not
to
the
that
smartest people
on
in
his
this
news
trial and
interview
in the Rudolph trial.
is that,
It's sure
his
as
understanding
not the smartest
was
people.
it was
The
something
debate
Adam
team
had
isn't
done
going to
in
win. I'm
his
pretty sure
house
about that,
when living on Guilford Street.
especially after watching
Um,
D-Day on the stand
He's
yesterday.
unsure if Adam sold guns while living on 644 Union Street. His understanding about that.
I
is
need a meth
not the
ferry. I have to
same
get
as
enough
Adam's
subscribers so I
had
can
when
make
they
my
had
own
77
emojis so I
Guilford
can have the meth
Street.
ferry.
So I
Nice
just
front
do
teeth,
not
and
think that
the
they
rest is
made the
gone.
connection to the conversation that Josh purportedly had with Mr. Montgomery, starting perhaps earliest a year after moving into Union Street while he was paranoid about the FBI and
Oh my God. It takes her
because it
forever
sounds
to
like
get to the
paranoia
point.
about the FBI was what led to him, and that was something that was going on at Union Street. That had, although it may.
I thought meth was through a pipe, but
anything to do with
I'm not an expert.
77 Guilford Street.
Maybe I should call this guy because he knows a lot about them.
Is referencing. And, says, was it read in the record this morning?
It was. I believe it was this morning, the statement regarding Josh Zimmerman's statement. I think we were on record when we were doing that. Yes. Okay, just making sure. Okay, I would like to see. a
Where's
copy,
Jamie? She's
actually,
the
if you
expert
wouldn't
in
mind.
drugs.
Thank you. Attorney Smith? Zimmerman stated the conversation he and Tara had with Adam happened a few months into Adam and Kayla living on Union Street.
Well, I have to get Jamie on. She is
So
the
I'm
the
not
resident expert.
sure.
We lived two boring lives
1 second.
to understand all the details and myth.
So I'm trying to better understand why you think it was a year after he moved into Union Street.
These are, what you're reading is like the third follow-up. with
Yes.
Mr.
So
Zimmerman.
where does it
His
co-
original statement was, that's what I was referring to.
Okay.
He originally talked about the statement and, sorry.
That's okay. I'm just going to take a look. Yeah. When his original statement,
What page are you providing?
Sorry.
that was just me holding out my hand. So, it's 507. Right. That's what I'm looking at, right?
509.
509.
Oh,
The
that's
507 is a
okay.
different sort of marking.
Okay. That's
I really
Alright.
don't understand why she wants to get into all these details. If it was a year after he moved into the building or a year after he started talking to the guy, it's after the fact, and all he's going to say is that the defendant bragged about having an AR-15 at some point and that being the sickest gun he ever owned. Why does she need to have a timeline that said it was this day or 6 months later when it's after it was stolen? He never seen the gun. He only heard him talk about the gun. So does it matter? Do you really have to waste hours on details like this? It's yeah. I'm just glad I'm pre-law, not post-law, because
okay. So,
I don't understand this woman.
I think, as I said yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, that I do think to the extent that there is a connection with the Guilford Street address and or the conversation that Tara Hilbert also had with the defendant, and the state can lay a foundation for that, which I think they have here, obviously subject to cross-examination of any prior inconsistent statements, that it is admissible. However, there's a lot of other information here that I don't think is necessarily admissible. So, the original,
There are many other things within the report talking about their interactions with individuals that they'd seen in other conversations. I would agree with you, that's not something the state's seeking to elicit at all.
okay, so, but I want to be clear about that what we're avoiding here is this, all of this propensity evidence that, if the state is looking to just get into this notion that he was and repeatedly engaged in, lots of firearm sales and the AK-47, and if there's an issue with the confusion that you want to ask him about an assault rifle, I think that's permissible, even though he called it something different, and certainly appropriate for cross-examination or for direct examination. But I am cautioning the state. You need to lay the foundation that's set forth in these documents before you ask him about the content of the conversation. And to the extent you think that the state hasn't laid a foundation consistent with my rulings here, Attorney Smith, that will be subject to contemporaneous objection. But if they do lay the foundation as we've discussed, then I do think it is admissible, despite the fact that there may be some inconsistencies here. It sounds that he's connecting it to the Guilford Street address. He's connecting it to the conversations that were also had with Tara Hilbert. And there are some other specifics here, but absent, if they can't do that when he gets on the stand, I'll hear an objection. Okay?
I would like to offer to you, I understand the ruling, but to put on the record that I will not be crossing Mr. Zimmerman about the distinction between, about the FBI, about other statements. The most that I can, because obviously it raises that specter anyway. My position is, it is.
Thank you so much. Every little eye counts. You know how much it takes to build up the watch hours, but and especially on a Saturday morning in the U.S., there's probably not many waking up and saying, "What happened in the meth ferry case?" But I like this judge is pretty clear that they can't elicit any other statements. It seems like he has a lot of knowledge, and
I would say that this
she's
statement
making the
is
rules
so
very clear.
undeniable that the prejudice in admitting it, the prejudice between my inability to cross because to cross, I have to go into territory that should not be a part of this trial. And I know that I'm making that choice, but I am making that choice because the prejudice of this, to make that, the fact that that connection does not exist, the prejudice outweighs any probative value to this, especially since Ms. Hebert will be saying something along those lines as well. And that my inability to cross without opening up.
This is supposedly a guy who talked to him a year and a half after the fact that the guns were stolen. And as I understand it, Adam was pretty paranoid at the time, believing the ATF being on his tail or something. And there's probably more than this
Okay,
gun
so
deal
I
the case is
you
about,
raise an
and I
important
think that's what
point,
they want to
which
keep
is
out of this, because they
how
keep talking about an
narrowly
AK-47. Elaine said
these other
AK-37,
things.
but
Because I do think that at some point you do veer into an area that is too prejudicial. So this notion that, you know, he was afraid of the ATF, that they were after him because he was selling guns, this sort of broader picture that I'm sure the state, you know, would like to paint. I think that's too broad a picture. I mean, that he had a conversation with him about having sold guns at 77 Guilford Street, I think is admissible. But I think going beyond that.
So like I said, it seems like they want to talk a lot about guns, and the defense want to keep it to the Mossberg and the
just maybe
AR-15
prejudicial, not sufficiently probative of these.
So I think it's nice to see that you make these rulings, because sometimes you don't understand what the judges get angry about when the state or the defense step over the line. But I think it's nice to finally see how the sausage is made, because sometimes they just say, well, we had a ruling about this and now we understand what the ruling is. I don't know if LNC should have shut off the camera, but I like seeing this.
To say that this particular charge that this jury is asking to consider, given the other statements about an AR-15 and a rifle here at Guilford Street, provides that nexus to be able to get into it. But I understand the court's ruling.
I've only shot Polish AK-47s, and I would say I would rather throw the gun. It's more accurate than shooting the gun, because that was some old Soviet things that didn't work very well. But I like the kick in it. I hate shooting. The Danish military has a variant of the AR-15, and I think it's just a children's gun. I'm from the old school where you can feel you have shot the full day, because there was so much kickback. But I know AR-15s are very popular, but I didn't like the ones I had when I was in the service.
So the state certainly understands the restrictions that the court wants us to follow. With regards to that, I will ask for maybe just 5 or 10 minutes to tailor my questions to be able to follow that along with the guidelines that the court has provided. But to say that no cross-examination is possible on those areas, I just think really mischaracterizes the evidence in the discovery.
So And if you'd like to mark for identification, just for the record, those prior statements, I think that's fine. The court has reviewed.
David, can
I
she
don't
make
think
a
it comes from my
statement
prior
that she
ruling.
won't
I have
cross-examine him in
what
front
she
of the
previously
jury to
gave me.
try
I'm sorry,
and
Attorney Smith, I took your
and
copies
show
of these
that
so that I could take a look.
there's something fishy?
But I think.
I don't know. It'd
So I'm
probably
just
be
giving
pretty
this back to
stupid.
you.
Did you want me to make a?
I'm-
She could just ask him some questions, but
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Attorney Agati is
she's
going to mark
probably
them for the
afraid it
record,
opens
and we
up
can do
too
that
many
after if
things
we want to.
that
Um,
the state can put into the case then, and then he will look like a
I
bad
think,
guy.
I think his,
Killing
I
his
think
daughter
it is
doesn't do
admissible.
that enough, apparently.
The information related to these firearms at the Guilford Street
Allegedly
address,
killing his daughter.
his concern about ATF, but I don't, we are not going to be talking about this as if, about whether or not he's an overall gun dealer of all sorts of other firearms. We're not doing that. Okay. So narrowly tailored questions, laying the foundation, connecting it to this case.
And the state said they were putting together a package which included a couple of liquor letters. I would object to the May
Liquor labels?
2023 liquor letter because it's referencing the actual interview, the report of which I think should be introduced, not the liquor letter regarding the report.
This is they're just for identification, not to be used for the jury. It's just for the issue of appeal.
Right, but I think this liquor letter represents something slightly different. from
Yeah,
the
but can
actual
she make it in
report.
front of the jury?
This liquor letter on May 31.
Because
Really
now we're
not
seeing how the sausage is made, that she
I'm
won't
not
cross-examine her, but she can't
Preclude
stand
the
up and
state from
say,
marking something for
I
the
can't
jury.
cross-examine this witness because then my
Um,
client looks even worse.
Happy to take the one from the 31st.
But if the questions are very bad for the defendant,
All
then
right. I
and
haven't.
she's afraid to open the door,
I mean, I think you
that-
all
that
have
could
made
be a
the
problem
arguments
too, but
with regard to
I
the
think this judge
content
have
of those
made the rules
for the
pretty clear that they
purposes of
can't
the court's decision
do some shenanigans to
on
get
this issue.
the
If there's
statements
something else
about
you
him
think I need
being
to know from those,
a
you can
prolific
let me know.
drug
That
dealer and
way-
a gun dealer into the case,
Okay.
so she can put the hammer down if they try to put it in there.
Right now. Why don't I have go off the record to the monitor?
I'm
Can you
pre-law,
quick
but I
breakdown?
still got
And
it.
then Once you're ready, we'll launch right into it. Okay? Very good. We'll just wait. So you take a break.
Do, 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 do. Break music. Do, 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 do. Yeah, and that's probably why she was so adamant about it, because if they slip anything in and they can and she has to cross them and she opens the door, that would be unfair. But we have seen cases where a lot of shenanigans has gone on in court, and I thought it was it was a good thing to see what happens when they talk about these things, because normally we don't hear why they made those deals to not talk about this and not talk about that. You just hear we discuss not going into that, but here we can see why that the defense is afraid that it could open up for even more prejudicial testimonies. So I really like seeing this behind the curtain. We'll learn something new every time we watch the trial from the U.S. Sometimes it's that you don't have to follow evidence if you don't want to, and sometimes it's that the police could be pretty bad. But let's see how far it goes. Oh, I like being behind, so I can just skip forward to the action parts. Come on. Jamie, we have to get an understanding of what a meth fairy emoji would look like, and you are a resident meth expert. So maybe you can help David and I with how to make them. We have some suggestions. But we're not sure how to use
Thank
meth.
you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. From time to time, things arise that we either don't expect or have other related business that we need to deal with. So I very much appreciate your patience. And when the state is ready, you may call your next witness.
State calls Ms. Tara Hilbert.
I hope that's a text to speak. No, I know that most of the cases we see is the crazy cases, and Judge Schroeder was in a league of his own. But it's nice to see that
Just remain standing for a brief moment when
you
get
can
there.
discuss these things behind the closed doors where we normally don't see it. So there are some rules, and then it's more blatantly when they cross the line. Everybody remembers Binger trying to open up everything
There's some
in
water
the
there if you
Rittenhouse case.
drink or anything else. If you need a break, just let us know. Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe you
And,
know what
one
the
thing
judges
as
would
you're
plow
go-
and
as
not
we're going
plow.
through today, since we're being recorded, could you please state your first and last name and spell both of them as well?
Our
Tara
meth fairy
Hilbert,
had pretty show teeth.
TarahHilbert.
And Ms. Hilbert, what town do you live in right now?
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay. How long have you been living here in Manchester?
Almost 7 years.
7 years now? Okay. And, excuse me for a minute, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about this, Ms. Hilbert. I apologize for the delay. So with regards to there in Manchester, are you working right now?
No.
Okay. Is there, where are you living? What's your address?
137 Orange Street, apartment 2.
Apartment 2. How long have you been on Orange Street at apartment 2?
7 years.
7 years? All right. For 137 Orange Street, do you own that building or are you renting?
Renting.
Is there anything, besides obviously paying rent, is there anything else that you're doing for your landlord to help pay for the rent?
I clean out the apartments that are being moved out of after they move out. And then I take out the trash barrels at each property that he owns for the trash days.
About, on average of any given week, about how many hours of your week is spent doing those sort of tasks and duties?
It really all depends because some of the trash areas are like horrible.
Yeah,
So
let's just
spend-
say allow.
I'd say probably
But,
3 hours a week at each.
we know your
or like
chat is
all week.
And what
a
are the
special
different
chat, so maybe
addresses
you
that have to go to
learn
to
from
do
us what people would plow and not
You
plow.
need the exact number of
Well,
each.
just roughly, maybe number of buildings, just so the jury gets. an
Oh,
understanding.
okay. There's 5, including my building. There's six properties.
Oh,
6 properties altogether.
Yes.
maybe in the low teens, depending on what
So
time
with
of
that,
night she can move up, and
Specifically, I wanted to ask you a little
the
bit
number of
about
drinks
the
she can
building
move
where
way up.
You live at
and
137
in the
Orange
morning
Street,
light she
with
can move
another address,
down
say
real fast.
644 Union Street.
So
How are those
I
two
would say,
buildings related?
depending
Are
on
they
which
close
time of
together? Are
the
they not close
day, she
together?
can be
Can you
from a
kind of
1
describe
to a
that
30,
so we get an understanding?
especially when I have a beer.
My building and that building share the same parking lot in the back of my building and in the back of that building. So my building to that building is probably 25 feet away from each other.
25 feet away.
Yeah, if you're like at the corner of my building to that corner of that building, like the closest corner is probably 25 feet.
I'd like to go ahead and show you. State's Exhibit 19 and then 18. I'll have you take a look at these just for a second. And let me show you State's Exhibit 19 first. Do you recognize this area or what's depicted in this photo?
No, I'm really
What
fair.
is this?
I
What is
have a
depicted?
very fast
Where?
sliding scale.
Okay, where you
It
live?
depends on the daylight and the number of drinks.
In fact, is there any sort of label of that 644 Union Street?
I'm not
on this
sure, but
image? Do we see something that says that?
eyebrows, didn't they go out of
And
style
the other
10 years
address
ago?
of where you said you lived? Okay. Is there anything that we can see on that picture that kind of marks?
Yeah, I don't know why I
indicates
fell
that
right
that is
into your chat and
37.
kept coming back.
Maybe that red dot.
A red dot on it?
I'm such a nice guy.
All right, let me show you Stacy's
Sunday
exhibit
tomorrow, I
18.
better go to church.
And with regards to this image, can we see your house, 137 Orange Street, from this address?
Yes.
Okay. And can we also see 644 Union Street from this address?
Yes.
You said a moment ago there's a parking lot. Can we
Yes,
see that in this photo?
Yes.
if you
If I
just
were to
put in the
be able
sliding
to
scale,
blow
every
these up and put them on the big
system
screen,
works.
Would that be, would
Just
you
have
find
to
that helpful
factor
be
in
able to kind of
a couple
explain
of
how the two buildings are
factors
next to
that
each other?
I think so.
could be variables very quickly. If I get too many of those over there, then she could be a 30.
I'm going to turn your attention to
I think he's falling asleep. He keeps moving around, then he turns off the camera, then he focuses in on tattoos on witnesses,
Yes.
then
I wondered if
he focuses on the defendant, and it's all over the place, especially when he gets bored. It's not an easy system, a easy trial to follow because he's all over the place all the time. So something is happening on screen, but
over here to this building.
it's just annoying.
And with regards to your own,
And you don't have to film the screen. They're going to put it up on the wall in a few minutes. So I really don't. This cameraman, I think he's trying to be the next Spielberg and do some angles.
first floor. We should have timed that a little bit better.
The problem is not if they have a chance with me. It's the other way around. And there's not enough beer in the world to do that.
You see, that's the same image we just looked at a moment ago.
Yes.
Now, from here, on this perspective, just generally point out the parking lot that you share between the two buildings.
Oh, David. So there are different rules in your system.
Orange Street, which one is yours again? Which building?
You can't do that in 2023.
And
Equal opportunities for 1s and 30.
often end up parking your car,
My car is right here.
just underneath.
Yep.
Okay. And with regards to the Union Street, folks who are living at Union Street, do they have any restrictions on where they can park? Or can they park anywhere within the law?
Anywhere within the law.
We'll see what time is your Jody Arias trial later. I think there's loopholes, poop holes, and other holes in that case.
That is
I believe it's at 1 your time.
Is that a separate entrance from the front door?
yes.
Do people sometimes use
No,
that
12 o'clock your time.
entrance, or is it always secondary? What is it?
Most people use the back as their main entrance.
Is their main entrance? Okay. And with regards to that, zoom out again so we can see the whole image of State's Exhibit 18. Having lived there for 7 years, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How often do you find yourself interacting with people who are living at the Union Street address?
You have to
You folks who are living on Orange Street?
rewatch the stream and
A
see
lot.
if I said it.
Really friendly,
I-
so I try to
Can't remember.
meet everybody.
I plead the fifth.
Well, thank you very
But I
much.
learned it I believe I learned it from Farrell. I believe she started talking about
So now that we understand this kind of general
the other
area,
kind of
I'm
holes
gonna ask
besides
whether
loopholes.
or not, while you were living on
And
Orange
again,
Street,
me know English so good, so
you said you've been
I
living there
know
for about
understand
7 years,
saying.
correct?
Yes.
All right, so that would include 2019 and 2020. Is that
Yes.
right? How did you first end up meeting Adam Montgomery and Kayla Montgomery?
Like talking wise meeting?
Without going into the specifics of what the conversations were that you had, but I'm just generally wondering where that might be, especially given the maps that we looked at here. Had you met them over at Union Street? Had you met them at your address in the parking lot? Where?
It was in the back,
In the back section.
like the back, right in the back of my building.
Okay. Actually, one, I'll zoom in here. We're still seeing State Exhibit 18. Am I pointing out the back of that building where you're talking about?
Yes.
And when you met them, where had they, where were they residing?
At 644 Union Street, apartment 2,
Apartment 2. What floor is apartment 2 on?
second floor.
Second floor.
I think you have to
How often did you talk with them?
make a presentation of your
At
skill
first,
someday
it
on
was
stream,
just
maybe a
very
member stream, so
vaguely,
people can
and then it
understand
got-
the
As
system.
the summer approached and the nice weather came, they'd bring their kids out more, and then we had kids, so they'd all just play, and we'd just
Yeah,
socialize.
Everybody
What were the
remember
ages of
at
your
12
kids?
p.m.
My daughter was
Nick and
4
David
at the
is
time.
gonna continue their
And-
saga into the
Obviously, your daughter was
Jodi
in the
Arias
I take it,
trial
right?
today
You said
with
we.
pictures. And
So who else
ladies,
lives
you
at
want
your
to see
home?
them pictures?
My
I know
fiance.
you do.
And what's his
And
name?
men,
Zimmerman.
the lighting is bad. You have seen
When
things like this
you met
before.
Adam Montgomery and Kayla
I'm
Montgomery.
sure you can find better
Did you
on
know or
the
did you
internet.
learn what Adam Montgomery was doing for work at that time?
No.
Okay. Did you ever give him a ride to work sometimes?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you give him a ride to work?
Home Depot.
How many times did you do that?
Maybe 10.
Maybe 10?
Well, you have to build into the system that people can be too stupid to understand the
At
system.
some point,
So
I'd like
you
to
have
ask-
to have
or actually,
maybe
let me
some
ask you this.
icons people
Had you
can
ever been
press.
inside of
One
their
is,
apartment while they were living
I
there?
don't know, Adam
Have
Murdaugh,
they ever
and
been inside of your
10
apartment while you
Yes.
were
could be
living there? And when
I
say
don't
they, I
know.
just want to be very clear. I'm talking about Kayla Montgomery and Adam.
Yes.
Judge Rother, and 30
How many
could be
times had Adam Montgomery
Travis
been
Rudolph.
inside your apartment
People
while you were living
seem
there?
to like him a
I'd
lot
say
in
just a
your
couple,
chat.
Probably 5, maybe.
What were the reasons why in general? And I guess maybe
Maybe I
did you
said
spend a
no
lot of time
understand English very
socializing with
good.
each other, or are these
I know
specific
understand
reasons
what
why
said.
somebody would come over?
We were cooking on the grill, and it was really hot out
Okay.
those nights, so we let all the kids go in. We'd all sit in the AC and eat.
At some point, what, if anything, did Adam
What,
Montgomery
if
tell you
anything?
about
Bingo.
a rifle?
That he had guns that he was selling, and didn't say that he owned them, just that he had guns at one point in time before living at this address.
And with regards to the rifle, how did he describe this rifle that he owned?
That it was AR-15.
Did he say anything else about it? Any other details about the gun?
No, nothing about the gun.
And where did he say he had kept that gun?
At an address that he lived at that his grandmother had owned, that was foreclosed on.
And one that his grandmother had owned that was foreclosed on. Am I getting
Yes.
that right? All right. And what street was that on?
I didn't know at the time, but after seeing the address on the news before it was,
Okay, well, I just want to, questions
This is
withdrawn,
state-
Your Honor. I'll restate.
And you should not consider the last question or answer.
With regards to the street.
There was the
specifically,
problem
did Adam Montgomery ever
that
tell you
witnesses
what
could
street it was?
jump into the other trial.
He
So
did not.
it's probably very
And
good that they had that
So
conversation
where
before.
did he say he had kept the
That's-
gun inside?
This witness seems like she's been
Walls
coached
and
not to talk
ceilings.
about it too.
Walls and ceilings. And this is the home you said he told you had been foreclosed on and they had been kicked out of.
yes.
What, if anything, did
What,
he
if
tell you about
anything?
whether or not he was being investigated for these guns?
He didn't say anything about being investigated.
He didn't say anything about being investigated.
Like he didn't have police contact. Like, yeah.
I apologize. I should restate the question. I should have been more clear. Did he ever state to you that he believed he was being investigated for these guns?
Yes.
Okay. And what did he say about that?
That the ATF was after him.
What, if any, incidents did you see?
For danske seere, hvis der er nogen, så ATF, det er dem, der tager sig af alkohol, tobak og firearms. Altså ja, alkohol og tobak, det kan vi jo selv, og firearms, det er så våben. Det er en special politienhed, der har fokus på at løse det problem. Så det er det er dem, der, hvis du handler med våben, handler med stoffer og den slags, så er det dem, der jagter dig og fokuserer på det i det amerikanske retssystem.
Hide in the house for a while?
Yeah, because they literally wouldn't come out of the house.
I'll have to look when
Did he
this
ever
is
exhibit
finished.
Any other behavior about that same belief that he was being investigated by the ATF for these guns?
I don't know if I should like go into detail about.
Okay. Let me withdraw the question then, and I'll restate a different one.
Okay.
I think a lot of lawyers who has been watching
was
on
his
YouTube
behavior like
has
as he went
got
off
that
to
kink
the
into their brain, so they have
Very
to be cautious not to say the lame
scared,
words. But it's
thinking
funny that
people
it's
were after him.
prosecution that uses it all the time, not
What did you? And
the Elaine clone
if you're
on
saying
the
that that's
defense
what he
side.
was thinking, I want to
She's
know,
just
I guess,
rambling
more
like Elaine.
specifically, what did you see that made you believe that? What behavior did you see from him that made you believe that?
he was hallucinating.
Hold on just a minute. There's an objection, so we just have to wait a second.
Basis? Yes.
It looks like they're really treading the needle here to not get into anything else, like they discussed before, that that it could open the door to so much more, and that the prosecution has to be really careful that she not that she don't stray away from the subject of this trial. But again, it seemed like Adam, according to all the witnesses, he wasn't a nice guy. He probably did some things he shouldn't do, and of course, this all amounts to nothing compared to what the next trial will be about, and that will probably be a lot worse than this.
Sustained.
Thank you. When you stated before that the defendant had been, the previous house that he had been living, that where Mr. Montgomery, Adam Montgomery had been living, had been foreclosed on. I believe you said it was his mother's house or grandmother's house?
Grandmother's.
Grandmother's house. Is that something that he told you?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And during the conversation about these guns, did you ever, or was Kayla Montgomery ever present for those conversations? She was.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Hilbert. I appreciate your time. I don't have any further questions for you, but I believe defense counsel will have a couple.
Thank you.
Jamie, those eyebrows, didn't they go out of
Good
style
afternoon,
10
Ms.
years ago?
Hilbert. I'm Robin Davis. I'm just going to ask you a couple of follow-up questions. You said that you met Kayla and Adam at the Union Street address, and that was in 2020. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was that early 2020?
Yes.
Do you know what month?
No. They moved in early 2020, and I'd say it was probably March, April.
March or April? Okay. Could have been as far back as February.
No, not that close. Not right when they moved in.
Do you speak to the police in regards to when Adam and Kayla moved in?
Yes.
If I showed you the police report, would that refresh your recollection?
No, I remember it.
Oh, good. And then the surprised
So-
eyebrow too. I loved those back in the 90s.
You met Adam and Kayla at the 644 Union Street. That was not your building,
Correct.
but you were a property manager there.
Correct.
And in that time, you indicated that you became friendly with Adam and Kayla,
Yes.
but you were more friendly with Kayla. Is that right?
Yes.
And I think you said you only on a few occasions had you interacted with Adam.
Yep.
And during that time, you indicated that Adam had bragged about selling guns.
Yes.
And you indicated that that happened on 3 occasions.
It was 2 or 3. Yeah.
Okay. So in the whole time that you had interactions with Adam or Kayla, only 3 times did you hear this.
Yes.
And when was the last time you saw Adam and Kayla at the Union Street address?
I know Kayla was June 2021. I think Adam was April 2021.
Okay. So over a long period of time. And during the time he was bragging about guns, you never saw him with any guns?
No.
He never showed you any photos of any guns?
No.
And even at his house, there were no guns?
I don't know. I never went in.
You went to their house one time, you said?
No.
Okay. And again, you spoke with the police.
I don't know if
including
the eyebrows were
ATF
fun,
and the
but it was
Manchester
fun to
police
see
about
all the young ladies going out
being
on
friendly
town
with
and
Adam
had
and
the
Kayla.
pointy eyebrows,
And you spoke with them in 20,
especially those
22,
that
is
marked
that
them in a
correct?
different color than their hair
Kayla in
color, so you really
2022.
could see the surprise on
And
their
you
face.
spoke with the police.
Oh,
In
yeah.
regards
Yeah,
to your
sorry.
relationship in March of 2022.
Yes.
So that those conversations were about 2
Oh,
years
ever a
after
fighter?
you had met Kayla
They were
Yes.
fighting.
and Adam. And you said that Adam had left earlier in the year from the Union Street address,
Yes.
and then Kayla remained there.
Yes.
Exactly.
And you continued to be friends with her even after she left the Union Street address, didn't you?
A little bit, yeah. Not as close as we were, just kept in contact.
But you continued to speak with her.
Yes.
And you continued to speak with her even when she was arrested and incarcerated?
Yes.
You continued to have conversations with
Yes.
her. And is that fair to say that you still have conversations with her?
No.
When was the last conversation you've had with Kayla?
Well over a year and a half ago.
Well over a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. That would be back in 2021. Didn't she say she left in 2022? I'm not listening.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Thanks.
Can we have this lawyer more for the defense? She's not rambling like the other one.
Yes.
Writing about having all of these guns.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask if you recall any other details about.
Don't use the mic, please.
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then ask this witness.
Anything further?
I just had a follow-up.
Okay, go ahead.
Apologize. Go ahead.
You spoke to the Manchester police in 2022 for the first time about Adam and Kayla, correct?
Yes.
And at that time, you never mentioned anything about an AR-15.
No.
And then they recontacted you in 2023.
What?
Just recently, you spoke with the police again in May
Yes. Yeah.
of this year.
Yes.
Okay. And that was in preparation for this testimony here today.
Yes.
And you knew that this trial was about firearms, correct?
Yes.
And it was on that date, May 26th, that you remembered the AR-15.
No.
You didn't tell the state?
Like I remembered it. I don't know if I should go into detail.
Yes.
That's the big problem, trying to get her to answer something that could lead them to open the door. Yeah, we started out today with the guy. She kept beating on him for, I think, like an hour again after lunch. And he kept saying the same story over and over again. That poor little guy. I felt like calling him up and go over there to give him a hug, because you could just see that his will to live left him on the stand. So I'm pretty sure she drove him back to drugs, because he was just a stupid guy who got in with some bad friends, and now he's trying to make it right. And she just kept hammering and hammering him and not going anywhere. And then the prosecution came back, let him tell his story one more time, and made it clear that, yes, I saw a gun. Yes, Adam bragged about it. Yes, I saw him sell the gun. And And then she came back rambling for another 20, 30 minutes. It was, yeah, she's a piece of work. Yeah, I remember when the ladies started tattooing their eyebrows. That's they're not gonna regret that when they get older. Either it's Botox or sagging eyebrow. It's just like the underboob tattoo. It's never gonna be ugly when you turn 30 and have 2 kids. Yeah, and she's about to open the door if she wants her to talk about the guns. I believe, because wasn't it what we just discussed before they brought
Just
back
for
witnesses?
clarification, I asked you about the police speaking with you on March 9th of 2022.
I don't know the exact date, but yes, it was in March 2022.
Okay, the year
Yes.
2022,
Yes.
you recall that. Okay. And at that time, you indicated that Adam was bragging about the sale of guns,
Yes.
and that he had specifically mentioned an AR-15,
Yes.
but you never saw any guns.
No.
Anything further for the state? All right. You may step down.
Thank you.
We've asked the witness to be excused.
Any objection?
I don't know. We
All
don't
right,
have
witness
guns
may
in
be
Denmark.
excused. Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
just know
wanna
that you have a lot of
clarify
assault
something with
rifles
you.
in the US,
You
and
probably have noticed that certain witnesses indicate that they're not sure how to answer a certain question. And as you know, the defendant was arrested on an unrelated matter to this case. And so witnesses have been instructed that they're not to talk about those kinds of unrelated matters. So it may be that the answer, when they are not sure about answering a question that may bring up something related to the unrelated matter, they indicate that they're not sure how to answer that question, and then the parties will move on. Okay. All right. You may
again,
call your next witness.
if they didn't know in the jury about the other case, would you go home and read the newspapers tonight? I know they're not allowed to, and jurors never do, but she's keep mentioning the Harmony thing and the other trial. So isn't it prejudicing the jury against the defendant? I don't know. I just feel it's odd that she keeps talking about the other case. And is that a guy in the middle with the blue hair? Ladies, smash or pass?
Get him set first. Stand, and then over here. Just be careful going over here, sir. If you could just have a seat for a brief moment.
And Farrell probably have pictures of it.
Keep your voice up. Okay, very good. And
Talking about
Mr. Zimmerman,
oops,
in a minute,
and Farrell
you're gonna
shows
be
up.
asked some questions. I'm going to ask you to keep your voice
Nice
up.
to see you,
It's
Farrell.
a big room, and everybody needs to be able to hear you. And I'll remind the lawyers to please do the same.
Will do. Thank you, Your Honor. My apologies. Mr. Zimmerman, I apologize. I'm going to have you stand up again for a brief moment. If you could, please. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. I do. Thank you, sir. Please feel free to have a seat. Mr. Zimmerman, as we're being recorded here today, would you please state your first and last name and spell them both? Spell the first and spell the last.
Joshua Zimmerman, JOSHUAZIMMERMAN,
And Mr. Zimmerman, what city do you live in?
Manchester.
How long have you been living here in Manchester?
About 7 years.
About 7 years. And with regards to your address, what's your street address? Where do you live?
137 Orange Street.
How long have you been living there at that address?
7 years.
7 years. Okay. With regards to your education, so we just get an idea of the background. How far did you go in school?
I graduated high school.
And what sort of different jobs have you had over your lifetime?
Mostly painting, contractor.
And is that what you're doing for work now?
Yes.
And what I want to ask, and actually I want to go ahead and draw your attention to the screen for a minute. I'm going to show you an image here that has
Can you find out the time schedule for the court too? Because I can't find it anywhere. I know they're off on Tuesday, but
Actually, you know what?
I have an exam on Thursday, so I hope they're not going too far into the next week.
Actually, let me show you State's Exhibit 19 first. Do you recognize the area of the city that's depicted in this photo?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a marking here that says 644 Union Street. Do you recognize that 2B, 644 Union Street?
Yes.
Where is your house in relation to that?
It is behind.
Behind it? Okay. And were you, a moment ago, just want to make sure I'm preserving the record here. Were you
Oh my
pointing
God, he
to
has
the
a
building that seems to almost
big
have a red
head.
dot on it? In the center?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not
And
sure
I'm
he
gonna
can
show
buy
you
a hat
State's
that fits
Exhibit
that big head.
18. Does this also show where you live, the building you live on, 137 Orange?
Yes.
And what about 644 Union Street? Can you see it here?
Yeah, it's right there.
All right. The parking lot that you share between those buildings, excuse me.
No butterfly on the lower
the
part of
parking
your
lot,
back.
Does that cover
Those
just
were in the
137 Orange
90s too.
Street, or does it cover other buildings in the area?
Covers the 4 buildings.
Covers the 4 buildings? Okay. And so can we see all 4 buildings in this picture?
Yes.
So all 4 buildings get to share that same lot, is that right?
Yep.
Kind of give us an idea of the level of interaction. How much do you see other residents talking to one another when they're all sharing the same?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
This stream just got interesting.
Exhibit 18 now.
Are Jamie truthful when she says she has no tattoos, or is she lying and have a
I'd like to ask, have
trip
you
to
ever met an
Cancun she'd
individual by the
just
name of
like
Adam
to forget?
Montgomery?
Yes.
And how did you meet Adam Montgomery?
In passing, neighbors,
In neighbors? Do you know where he lived?
Yep.
Where did he live?
right next to me.
Right next to you. Okay.
Interesting.
And I apologize. Make sure. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, I imagine nobody's comfortable necessarily on the witness stand, but if you need a break or if you need water or something, just let us know. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And with regards to that, in meeting Adam Montgomery, were you living at the Orange Street address at the time?
Yes.
Same one where you still live now?
Yes.
And I want to be very specific with you. What, if anything, did he tell you
What if
about
anything?
owning a rifle?
I need a soundboard so I can say bingo every time.
He said he had one and he sold it. And he was
Farrell,
scared about the ATF afterwards.
this guy is also nervous because
So let me
he has been
back to
told
you.
that he
said to
can't
you that
talk
he had a
about
rifle, had owned it, and
other things
what
than
did he do with
just
it?
this case, but
He sold it.
Sold it. Okay.
he has knowledge about him selling
What do
other
you
guns
recall
too,
about what
supposedly.
the rifle was like?
So,
How he described the rifle.
This witness is trying to not talk too much, I believe.
I don't know the difference between a rifle and an AK-47 and an AR, but it was a rifle. That's what I got out of it.
It was a rifle. Did he describe it any more than that, other than to say it was that style of rifle?
No, not really.
And when did he tell you he had this rifle?
Before he lived there.
Before he lived there. Do you know where he was living before he lived there at Union Street?
I don't know the exact address.
Okay. Do you remember just generally the street?
No.
Okay. So right now you don't recall the street, but it's where he was living before he came to Union Street.
Yeah.
On that particular issue, I just want to ask, have you had a couple different opportunities to sit down with Manchester Police Department?
So,
and
David,
talk
for
to them
your
about this conversation?
5,000
Yep.
member
With
stream,
Adam Montgomery, I should say. All right.
you should make us
In that, at one point in time,
gift you for
had you
a
indicated what
new
that
tattoo
street
for
was? Do you
Jamie, so you
recall
can collect the
telling
money
them
and
what that
give
street
Jamie
was?
the tattoo
bad
she's
memory, I
always
don't.
been dreaming of.
If I had a chance
Maybe
if I could show you
a picture of
report
Jodi
that
Arias
meeting that you had
on
with
her
police,
back.
do you think that might refresh your recollection
Mhm.
about what your memory is?
That I think that that would be a nice tattoo to have. Oh, I remember when the boys had eyebrow piercings. I'm just happy I got tattoos instead.
Police report. And I'm just going to move this over to the side, if that's okay with you.
A Jody Arias sleeve could be
And
nice
I'm going to show
too.
you a particular report.
Maybe
You
with
remember
some
meeting
flowers
with,
and
or having a
some
phone conversation with a police
religious
officer,
loopholes
and
on it.
an assistant
I don't
attorney
know.
general just earlier this week.
Mhm.
Okay. And during that, did you talk with them about your conversations with Adam Montgomery about guns?
Mhm.
I'd like you to have read through this particular
Of
report
course,
here.
$20 in
Direct your
super
attention
chats,
just
and
to the
then
bottom
you
half
have
of the report.
say what's
Just for a
the
moment.
motive and where it should be on her.
And then look up whenever
I'm
you're
going with the
Okay.
teardrop
Fast
by
reader.
the eye.
Okay. And let me restate the question now, and we'll see whether or not that refreshed your recollection. Do you recall when you were speaking with the police officers, again, as recently as this week, about what address or what street the defendant was living on? when he
Jamie,
had
how can you
the
say
rifle
that?
to talk to you about?
It was the Guilford Street address.
We make a lot of
Guilford
very
Street
reasonable
address.
decisions
That refreshes your recollection.
following this
about
case on a
that
Sunday
and that
afternoon when
conversation.
it's sunny
Right.
outside.
Right. I just
That
wanna make
seems
sure I've got
very
that.
intelligent of me.
Did he say where he kept the gun at that previous address?
He said he was hiding them in the walls and stuff like that because he was worried that he was gonna, I don't know, get in trouble.
Well, I say, well, let me just go to, I'll be very specific, and I apologize. Sometimes my questions are too broad. Let me be more specific. So the question that I wanted to ask was, did he say where he was keeping that gun?
Not
At
exactly.
the time he was living there, and I believe you just said in the walls. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's part number one.
But Jamie has to learn that
You mentioned a few
the
moments
YouTube group,
ago something about
you have to
the
sell
ATF
something.
or some
Most of
statement
it
from the
is your
ATF.
dignity,
What did the
but
defendant say
the
to you
grift
about the
is strong on
ATF?
YouTube. So
Um,
she's getting the tattoo.
he got kind of paranoid and was putting notes on people's cars.
Hold on a minute. I'm not asking about his actions. I just want to, you said that he had gotten paranoid. I just want to know the statement. And let me be more clear. Did he say to you that he was concerned about the ATF?
Yes.
Okay. Did he ever tell you why he left the Guilford Street house?
I think they got evicted or something.
And when you had, how many of these conversations did you have with Adam Montgomery about this rifle, about these guns?
Once,
Once, one time? Was there anybody else present there when you had that conversation?
my fiance.
Your fiance was there. Was there anybody else there? Any other adults or child or anyone?
Kayla
Kayla?
and the kids. But
Okay.
they were running around.
That's not
Okay, I want
nice.
to make sure I heard that. So
I trust
but you just
Farrell
said Kayla and the
100%,
kids, but they were running
absolutely,
around. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
to
was
pick your
Kayla
tattoos.
next to you and the defendant when you had these conversations with Tara there, or was she also running around with the kids?
Yeah, it was back and forth, but we're all right there on the porch.
Whose porch? Your porch or Adam Montgomery's porch?
My porch.
Your porch. And that's the one at 137 Orange Street you showed us there.
Yes.
Last question for you, Mr. Zimmerman, with regards to Adam Montgomery. Is he in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you please point out what he's wearing and describe the color shirt he's wearing?
Blue.
And
Point.
could you please point out generally where he is in the
Oh,
courtroom?
sorry. Right there.
Over there inside. At this point, Your Honor, we'd ask the record to reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record shall so reflect.
Thank you.
Doesn't he have a
I
very
don't have
small
any further
face to
questions
that
for
big
you.
head? I know that I have a chubby head, but his face seems smushed.
Good.
I'm Caroline Smith, and I don't have too many questions for you, but I did want to follow up on one of the things that you said. When you started answering questions with Mr. Agati, and he asked you what street Adam lived on when he was talking about, not when he was talking, but where he was living when he said he had guns.
Mhm.
Boy, that's a bad one. So let me back up there to make that a little easier. You said that this conversation happened with Adam while you were at Union Avenue, right? He was at Union Avenue.
Yes. Yes.
And you're at Orange Street,
Yes.
side by side.
Yep.
You have a conversation, and you said you had a conversation about some guns or an AR-15 at Guilford, right? Street.
No, it was at Orange Street. I had the conversation.
Right. Okay, that's what I didn't want to mess up with and made it even worse. But it was about activity that he said he was doing while at Guilford Street, right?
Yes.
And when Attorney Agati first asked you about where that activity was supposed to be happening, you said you couldn't remember, you had a bad memory.
With names.
Okay. And you actually talked to a police officer 5:31. So that was just a couple of days ago, right?
Yep.
And that was a phone call, right?
Mhm.
While you were at your house.
I was at work.
Oh, you were at work?
Yeah.
Okay. And during that phone call, you were able to provide a name of a street.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was actually asking you questions about what street where he was living, right?
Yeah.
And so when you first talked to I'm changing the subject a bit and moving too fast again. Sorry. You recall that your wife was talked to police in March of 2022, right?
Yep.
And she told you about that conversation with the police, right?
Yep.
Because it's not a secret. You two share your lives together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were aware that Adam had been arrested. Right?
Yeah.
You have to say it out loud. And you were aware that Kayla had been arrested.
Yes.
And and you were aware that the police had talked to Tara.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you were aware of what they talked to Tara about.
Yeah, pretty much.
She told you the conversation that she told the police, right?
Mhm.
And you talked to the police in, and I brought the wrong one over, sorry. September 26, 2022, right?
Mhm.
That's give or take 6 months after Tara had that conversation with the police, right?
Yep.
And that's after you and Tara had talked about that conversation that she had with police, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything?
Nothing.
All right, you may step down. Is the state ready to call its next witness?
We are, Your Honor. I'm just here to go over our technology, but I think we should go ahead and get the witness on the stand and deal with it when it comes up. So at this point, the state would like to call Mr. Michael Doty to the stand, please.
All right.
Sorry.
Please remain standing for a brief moment, jury. To the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Please feel free to have a seat. Please state your full name, spelling both your first and last for the record.
Yep, it's Michael Dobe, Michael.
Dobe, I apologize for the mispronunciation. I'm
That's
sorry
okay.
about that. Mr. Dobe, currently, what town do you live in?
Londonderry.
Okay, and how long have you lived there?
10 years.
About 10 years or so?
Yeah.
All right.
Did
Let
New
me
Hampshire
ask you,
just copy all the,
so
the
jury
names from
understands,
real
your
England?
testimony here today. What field of work do you work in?
Asset protection.
Asset protection. And for folks who are not familiar with asset protection, how would you explain that to them? What is asset protection?
It's just another form of security. Our job is to prevent theft in retail stores.
What are some of the different retail stores that you've worked in, and for how long?
I've been doing security and asset
Does Farrell
protection
have
for
a
about
side job
15
where you
years.
don't
I
know
currently
about
work at
shit?
Macy's.
That's
And where are
a
some of the
woman who
different
wears clear
retailers that
heels.
you have worked with before going to Macy's?
Yep. So prior to Macy's, I was with Walmart. I was with Walmart for a few years, and then prior to that was Rite Aid for 9.5 years,
Oh,
and then
this
Kmart
part,
for a few years.
I think I don't
Do you
understand
move around sometimes
where they're
from
going with
store to
this.
store, or are you located at one store when you
Has
have
to
these
do with
jobs?
selling the guns.
So
What-
Rite Aid, I moved store to
to the
store. Walmart, I was assigned to only the Manchester
I'm
location,
blunt, so I
and
don't.
then
Maybe I
Macy's,
don't
I'm only
understand
assigned to
anything.
the Salem location.
And what were the times, or excuse me, what years were you working for Walmart at that Manchester location?
That's why he's so big.
2020 to
He's
2022.
just sampling the
And
donuts.
so everybody knows, which location are we talking about? What street?
725 Gold Street in Manchester.
Is that the one? So
It's
for
like
me to
waste
get there from
management.
here, which way would
It's
I
not
go?
a garbage worker
I
anymore.
think the quickest way would to be go up. I don't know what the side street is here, but straight up to Beach Street, and then Beach Street all the way down to South Willow to like the Friendlies area, and then you take a right at Friendlies, and that brings you right to Walmart.
Okay. So how long were you working at that particular Walmart?
Approximately 2 years.
2 years. All right. Are you from 2 years of working there? And I should say this: what are your average work weeks like? How many hours are you there in the store?
That varies, but typically I would say anywhere between 40 and 50 hours a week.
So is it fair to say you know the interior layout of that store fairly well?
I do.
I want to ask about a device at the very front of the store, I believe in the service area, called an Eco ATM. Are you familiar with that device?
A little bit, yes.
Could you explain to the jury what is an Eco ATM? And at least what was it when you were there at Walmart?
Yep. So the Eco ATM is a vendor service. It has
When
nothing
I
really to
was
do
in
with
Delaware
Walmart. It's
the
not
last
Walmart
time,
owned, but essentially
I
it's
didn't understand that when we went through
a
the cash
human-less
and paid,
pawn shop almost.
they
You just
wanted to
put
see our
electronics in
receipts.
there.
I was just,
It gives
what?
you
Why?
a dollar amount of
We
what they
don't have
value that
anything like
electronic
that
device
in
to be.
Denmark. And
And then if you
then
agree
the
to
next
its
day,
terms and
we
payment,
came back in
it
because
keeps the
Walmart is fun
electronic
for
item and then it gives you the money.
girls that have never been to the
So it's
US. We
almost
don't have
a
such
place where I
big
can
stores
turn
in
in if
Denmark.
I was
And
tired
and then
decided
the same guy
this is it, I wanna get rid of
followed
it.
us around
I
the
could
store.
go there
It
and
was
get money from my
okay.
phone at one of these devices.
Maybe I
You
look
can,
like a
yes.
criminal, but
And is
it
that
was
something that's
weird
in multiple
that
Walmarts or just
this
that
guy in
particular Walmart?
high-res West followed
To
us
be
around
honest,
the
I
store.
don't know if it's at multiple
I think
Walmarts, but we
like
did
half
have
an
it in
hour,
ours,
but,
and it's also used in various
then,
other locations.
He had something to do, I guess.
At some point in time, specifically actually in early January of 2022, were you contacted by Manchester Police Departments with regards to an ongoing investigation they had?
Yes.
And did they ask you to retrieve any sort of records that Walmart had about Eco ATM transactions between December 30th and December 31st of 2021, just the month prior?
A smooth
We
criminal.
did, yes.
Okay. And what did you do to assist in that investigation?
I
think,
believe they
there's a
gave
lot
me
of
dates and
hidden checks
times to
they-
look at, and then
I need Indigo. She's always so nice.
burned those videos and any camera frame relating into that area, and then I provided it to Manchester Police.
When you say camera frame relating to that area, what do you mean by that?
The service desk where the Eco ATM machine was.
And in addition to that footage from the service area, were you able to look at other cameras that were recording from that same time period? Like,
I
are you
was.
able to, for lack of a better term, are you able to basically follow somebody through the store from different recording to different recording?
I was able to do that, yes.
Were you able to do that for the Eco ATM transaction and the people involved with that transaction that you saw on the video?
I was.
If they bought
And what did you do
those
video footage into?
wipes to clean up
I
things, then
provided
we
it
know
to the
they're
Manchester
criminals,
Police Department.
like in the Anderson case. It wouldn't I wouldn't surprise me if you were, but I like him stabby. Again, that's why I'm single. It's always the cray craze.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 1 for identification purposes only. And I'm going to go ahead and hand you that. Feel free to take the DVD or the CD out of the sleeve Just want to have you take a look at it. Do you recognize that DVD or CD?
I do.
Okay, how do you recognize it?
My initials and date are on it.
Have you watched the video content that's on that CD?
I have.
Yeah,
What is the
but
video content?
he got a career out of
The
it,
video that I
so
provided the Manchester Police
something
Department.
good came
The
from
one
it.
that we're talking about here for this transaction.
Correct.
And yes, I've seen the video.
But
No,
again,
it's not that
the very
impressive.
Front of the
You have
CD,
the
did you do
good knife
anything
skills
mark
to
so
cut
you
it
know that
off.
That's the same CD that you viewed.
Yep. I initialed it and signed it.
Go ahead and take that back from me, please. Thank you. And the video footage that you viewed on here, is that a full and accurate representation of the video footage that you provided to the Manchester Police Department relative to this investigation they asked?
It is.
At this point in time, Your Honor, I believe the defense would like to approach.
I bet it's in Discord later. No, I don't know if it was the first or the second video. I saw a video with him, and it's the first time I could relate to a guy doing that on screen because he was a little chubby, knobby thing. So at least we had some representation, but I've seen better.
Just a quick question, I'm sorry. Half of us are still up here.
That's okay.
Yeah,
The
that
footage
that
you
video,
pulled for the
he
Manchester
wasn't
Police
that
Department
impressive.
in relation to the investigation they asked you for. Did you view that footage before you gave it to Manchester?
I had to in order
Not
to,
if
Brian.
she's
So
just
yes.
slicey, not stabby. And again, I live in
Yeah,
the Nordic
yes.
countries.
Stricken Exhibit
It
1
should
is
be a
entered
hot
as
day
fully
before she had
examined.
anything to cut up. Farrell showed up in chat. It's always going someplace weird when she's around. That's why we stick at your chat, because she's there to entertain us. Hello, Salvador. Thank you for showing up.
Your Honor, it may be. You just have a brief moment to speak.
Oh, I haven't seen the enlargement video. Now I know what I'm gonna have on my internet search later today. If I die, just burn everything electronic in my house, because the third search terms I have that could get me in a lot of trouble if I was named Murder and lived in Alabama or where he was living, South Carolina. If we know Farrell, it's on this later.
Council's agreement. What I'd like to do is-
Thank you for showing up. It's just the ending of day 2. It's not this case that's very interesting. It's the next in August he's on trial for killing his daughter back in 2019, and I'm following this because I want to see how the defense try to discredit all the witnesses, because the same witnesses in this case will probably show up in the other case too, especially his ex-wife, who is one of the main witnesses. She has been indicted with perjury, and none of the witnesses. This guy's pretty good, but there's a lot of meth heads in this
Lawyers are not known for their technical expertise.
witness pool. Oh, that was a dig at you, David. No technical expertise, but you help me all the time. No, so Salvador, it's not a very interesting case, but the case following this will be very interesting. Yeah, and I'm blaming all the law tubers. I didn't do anything like that, search anything like that before I started watching LawTube. And the very bad stuff, I didn't search any of that before I met Farrell and Indigo. Only one has been pleading the fifth right now, so we'll see Monday if he is forced to talk, but then he could just say, like everybody else, I don't remember. That's normally how it goes when I'm in court and a witness maybe has a bad memory and can't remember he ever talked to the police. but at least this guy said he wouldn't be talking because he wasn't a snitch. So he knows the rules. Snitches gets bitches. Oh, a lot of plea deals, and that's what the defense is talking about most of the time. But they have, I don't know if you watched the Johnny Depp trial and know Elaine Braderhoff. Her sister is on this case, maybe not her blood sister, but her sister from another mother, and she's rambling just as much as Elaine. Sometimes I can't follow her, and she goes on for 2 hours asking a meth head if he can remember dates, and he's just saying, "I was drug sick. I don't remember anything." And then she asks him 5 new questions and asks the same again. So my gray hair is not just because I'm old. It's also for listening to this woman.
What I would like to do now is I'm going to like to play one of the particular videos on the CD that you've just given to us, which is State's Exhibit 1. I'd like to, there are a total of...
It's the prosecution who said, "What if anything?" In this case, that's he did it three times today. So I need a soundboard with a bingo every time he does it.
So the service desk is located in the front of the store.
Probably only unicorns and recipes for cupcakes, I believe.
That cover the entrance of the store.
We do.
Do you have cameras that cover the different aisles inside Walmart? Or did you, I should say, past it?
Always keep your
We
phone
did,
on,
yes.
so you're not murdering anybody and can be blamed for it.
Exiting the store. Did you have cameras that cover that area as well?
Correct.
I'm going to start by playing an entrance video. What we recorded here specifically for the record, I'm referring to entrance, general merchandise, _02_.
With all the electronic surveillance that's going on, how many red flags is at Jamie's location right now in the FBI database? Because we're talking about her crack den. No, it would be the ATF's database. I know you can't search certain things on Google without getting a little notice in your file, but we've been talking a lot about Jamie and her crack habits.
We're going to hit play on this track.
Yep.
Again, this is entrance, general merchandise.
And I have to find someone who can make me the crack fairy icon.
This particular moment, 7 seconds into this track, do we see 3 individuals coming into the store here?
We do.
It's
These 3 individuals
top tier
is the 3 individuals that
community members right there.
on cameras throughout their time at the store that day.
That is correct, yes.
This general entrance that they're coming through, where's that located in the store? And I know it might sound like a strange question, but the side of the store, the back of the store, the front of the store?
So it is the front of the store, and that is our general merchandise entrance.
Is there a second entrance for Walmart?
There is a grocery entrance, which is also in the front.
I'll play that track again.
So Jody Arias couldn't buy anything in that store if it's only got front entrances.
And from there, I'd like to ask, do you also have another camera separate from one?
Oh, I don't know anything about. I just know she's a bit chubby,
At different heights within the store.
in not the good
one
way.
that's as low as this, but you have ones that are higher, maybe ones that are lower.
Yeah, the store had various types of cameras, ones that were low, eye level, and high up.
Yeah, we talked about it because Indigo
I'd like to play for you now.
threatened me, but she would do that to me if I ever came to the US. Oh, I believe so. Maybe I was drunk when I dreamt it.
1.13.55.15
Topless stream was yesterday. And remember, everybody, at midday, you will have to follow the Jody Arias trial over at David's channel.
So this is also
Him and Nick
this
is
the
gonna
same entrance
do
that
a
we
dual
just saw. It's the
stream again
general
today. You
merchandise,
can watch it at Nick's
entrance.
channel
It's just a
too.
different
I don't
camera view.
discriminate, but just remember to watch it. Today is the day with pictures. So Ladies, you know you want to see it, and men, you have seen better.
Correct. And the door that's in the vestibule is the AP office.
Following it again here. I'm gonna go ahead and, you said that there is a.
When was this? Was this back in the late 90s, or when did she
Stepping
do
off
the at-home surgery on this guy?
show us where that.
Can't remember. It's so long ago.
Pausing the
Was it
video,
pre Pamela's
at 12
tape?
seconds into the track. Right there, you're
Uh,
going to the left-hand
This
side
takes
of
me
the
back
screen.
to my younger
Correct, that would
days.
have been our office.
Could you show us that again? Yep. And from that, can we see the same three individuals who had just come in the
No, you would never threaten me. You would. It's more, would you do it?
Could you see where these people went?
Didn't a part of him end
If
up
I
in a
remember
ditch?
correctly, they went straight to the service desk area.
And you've got a video of that service desk area?
Yes.
I'd like to play for you now the area called Service Desk Overview Monitor, 12/30/2021.13.55.
Oh, it was that far back. That was when I left primary school. So happy days.
Are we now watching this? Is this the service area that you're talking about?
This is.
So it has to be before the internet really was a thing. So
Can you tell us what are the different?
I remember hearing about it. It must have made the papers in Denmark.
Areas does the camera cover?
Yep. Do you mind if I get up?
If you could, please. Thank you.
So this is the service desk right here.
According to the lower left-hand side of the screen.
This is the Eco ATM machine. And then this is the front end registers behind.
So the front end register, as you said, in behind, is that where I would go to pay when I went to leave the store?
Correct.
All right, and could you point out the Eco ATM machine?
He just did.
So I'm gonna start playing the video again, moving on for 6 seconds. And as you watch the section of the video, could you tell us whether you see the same three individuals we talked about already come over to the Eco ATM?
Only 10. Dang, I'm old.
I do.
And again, this is footage that you.
I think
Before you give to the Manchester
was
Police Department and
no,
before-
was this after OJ or at the same time? And the Rodney King riots.
Approximately how long does it take to?
I think that was when we started hearing a lot about trials in the U.S. back in Denmark.
I mean, based on my experience, I would say anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes.
I would
Just shut
say,
up.
but
You're
I'm
making
not
me feel
100%
so old
sure.
right now.
This particular track is, if I'm reading this correctly, tell me if I'm right at the bottom of the screen, 33 minutes and 55 seconds long. Is that correct?
Correct.
Having watched this portion of the video, going through.
I really don't understand what
33 minutes.
taking money out of an ATM has to do with selling guns,
You see
but
these same individuals
probably
here
they're gonna
in
explain it to
or
us.
at least one or more of those individuals here in
But
this machine
it's
throughout
up
this
here.
entire 30
They are
I do.
getting
yes.
some money.
And who's the individual
I don't
that
understand it.
controls who are standing at that machine the entire time?
Who are they?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Point out
yeah.
which
So that was around that time.
not asking
I can
about the
remember seeing the Bronco
Right
pictures.
now, it looks like the two
I-
females are standing
think
there.
we
One in a
just had
blue,
two
light blue
English television
long sleeve and
channel
a,
at that
maybe
time,
a
so,
darker blue
they-
jacket.
Competing to get viewers, so I think one of them showed it.
And they were just showing by a male. These two women and then the male with the hat.
What color is that?
No, let's just say I'm not that much older. I died I was born the year that the king died, so I'm that old. I remember brown clothes
In regards to this transaction,
and
I'd like to go
the
ahead
two
and
revivals of the hippie clothes era.
and just
Oh, and bad Euro techno.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Dope, maybe it would be more efficient.
Mr. Dope is such an I don't know, it's a fitting name in a trial where everybody is a method, or it's not that, maybe not the best of names. I don't know, but
And what about the other
I think it's a nice name, Mr. Dope.
The one in the darker blue, I believe, also stays the whole time. The gentleman in the hat varies. He leaves and comes back throughout the video.
The King.
Let's go ahead and jump forward now.
The one I have a tribute tattoo to on one of my legs.
29 minutes.
And I know with your sleuthing skills, you can find out everything about when he died. It's because you had a too good of a youth.
In 25 seconds.
It hurts the body.
The two female individuals there.
Yes.
The ATM. And can you point out where they are?
Yeah,
They're
if
at the
there's
ATM machine.
footage of it, probably a lot of people haven't seen it and are too young to remember it and how much it made the news. So
22
that could be
minutes.
something
25 seconds
to
in.
stream.
Are those same two females still there at the ATM machine?
They are.
Well, you Americans only have two royalties, Prince and the King. So you should know it.
Now looking at
King of
21
pop.
minutes and 45 seconds.
King of rock.
Still there at the ATM machine?
They are.
I'm afraid to. I think if she get a wrench, she will find all
I
my
do.
dirty pictures.
We point them out.
And they are only on OnlyFans
He's the one walking
for a
away.
reasonable amount.
Jump forward again to 27:18. Do you still see those same two individuals?
I do.
And now jumping forward to 28:16. Are they both still there at the ATM? And could you point them out, please?
Yep, they are, and they are still both at the Eco ATM.
Stay there just for a second. Now at 29:20.
I think it's a good thing to for the history and the culture in a country to have a royal house. I like our royal house very much. I've been drinking a couple of times with the Crown Prince. Ladies used to like or seem to like him. And when I was doing my military service, I played in a band in the Navy, and we were always playing for the Queen. So I've seen her up close, and sometimes it's impressive that 7 times a day she had to do the same thing, and we were there, and she did the same thing every time. And every time it looked like she'd never done it before. She's an amazing queen.
I do. Could you please point them out for us?
I don't know what Bridgerton is. I still haven't found out why we're watching people getting money out of an ATM. Is it because there's no money on the card? You can tell me that I would believe that if they are junkies.
Now looking at 30:47. You still see the individual with the tan hat?
I do.
And at that point, is that individual now off the screen? We're skating here at 31:00.
He's off the screen.
The female in the
What did I win?
Did you follow the two of them as they went through the store?
I believe I did, yes.
And is that part of the video footage you provided to the Manchester Police Department?
Yes.
This camera angle and where you were for this, how high is this particular camera?
This camera is probably
It's pretty high. It's been smoking meth with Adam Montgomery.
feet off the floor.
Do you have other cameras that are closer that could see more facial features than what we can see here?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any in the cosmetics department that include that?
Yes.
Might we be able to see the person's face or any of these people's faces if they walk through one of those cosmetic cameras?
Yes.
At this point, I'd like to play another track for you.
Attorney Gotti, I'm going to ask you to approach for just a minute. Council approach.
Oh, so we're going to start Monday with watching people getting money out of an ATM again. Riveting, entertaining footage of an ATM machine. If there's any money, not any money coming out, I could show pictures from my 18th birthday where my card got declined. That was not a happy time, and I wasn't even doing drugs. Well, it seemed like we'll be done for the day. Yeah, it's over. Everything is done. Oh, I don't have my watch on, so I can't even say what time it is. In about 3 hours, Nicholas and David will be doing a trial stream with the Jodi Arias case. I recommend you all to go watch it. Both of them are funny guys, and she's a lovely lady. She's a virgin still, and I like that about her. And some say she killed a guy, but that's just rumors. But go watch the trial. It's 12 noon, I believe. They will be showing it at Eastern Standard Time and 6 o'clock our time in the real world. Thank you all for showing up in this Saturday stream, watching me getting more and more gray with listening to Elaine and Farrell. Yes, the real king, the only king, the one and only king. So that's pretty close. If you can guess what year he died, it's pretty close to my age. But I'll end the stream before you can spread the lies about my real age. And thank you all for showing up, having a fun morning with me at your place and afternoon in my place. Now I will go out, enjoy the sun, and I will, all the classic nudes and b-holes will be on stream at noon at Nicholas or David's channel. I will be there. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And thank you so much. I'm so happy that you spent your afternoon with me, or the morning, sorry, my afternoon. And I'll see you all later where I can let loose in the chat, and maybe I'll get a little, indigo style. Have a nice day, everyone. See you later. And again, thanks for showing up and entertaining me while I watch this boring case. See you later.